interesting.
Okay, try now.
What is that? Thank you, leg. Yeah, they're doing. See, I know these dance moves, which is really sad. I shouldn't.
Can you refresh and check again?
I'm still
Unable to-
getting
browser
DJ.
error because it's getting confused. It's like somebody's going live and it's
Oh,
still.
no, now
there,
something's
there
happening.
It goes. All right. Okay. So
I see a purple
here
and
we
green
are.
heart.
Here we are, everyone. Oh, that was interesting. All right. So I guess we should do an intro now, proper one. 2 minutes in, but everyone, welcome to Distant Radio Talk. It's not really specifically an interview all the time. Half the time it's like roundtables or just discussions. I am here on the radio, Chankk, over on the stream.
Yes, it's me, Dr. Nagi. Hello.
And this evening we are here with, and very grateful for his presence, with Down to Earth Astronomy, aka Astro. So,
Thanks for having me.
no, thank you for coming. I mean, really, yeah. What was that? Almost a month setup, but still, I was surprised that you even responded to me so quickly. And it was just like, oh, this is a thing that's happening, and it just came together really fast.
Oh, why not? I think the whole thing started. What did you who posted under? I can't remember what it was. One of
the invisible rings.
Yes, that is it. And you posted said that you would really want me and one of the guys that were from what's their name?
Yeah, Polish Dan from
Polish
INU.
Dan, yes.
And unfortunately, Polish Dan can't be with us tonight, so that discussion will probably have to wait. Because that's a very
he has
detailed
a very good reason. It's his
roundtable.
birthday.
Yeah, it is his birthday, so happy birthday to Polish Dan.
Congratulations.
You survived another one. Good job, buddy.
Another trip around the sun.
But yeah, we're here with Astro, and would you like to give a? I mean, I don't. Does anybody not know you? Is that even possible?
There might be some, but I'll do a quick introduction then. I'm a YouTuber. I've been doing YouTube for about 3 or 4 years now. I've actually lost track, and been covering Elite Dangerous pretty much since day one. And do live streams once a week, and yeah, other stuff like this sometimes when they're open spots.
Hold on. Oh, can you? Oh, hello on the radio. Can you do that one more time? Real sorry.
Yeah, sure.
I forgot to turn my chatterbox on so that people can hear you. I'm terrible at the radio because the radio has so many buttons you have to push to get it to work right.
Okay, I'll try it again. No, but I'm a Danish YouTuber. I've been doing YouTube for about 3 or 4 years now, and most of the time I've been covering Elite Dangerous, and from time to time various other smaller space games now and then. But the main focus has definitely been Elite Dangerous for pretty much since launch, I guess.
I think you are like the very first Elite Dangerous YouTuber that I found.
Yeah, I'm about the same. The first ones that I found, because I got into the game through watching streamers. I was watching Quixote and DJ Truthsayer, and but then when I found out that it really was this huge community, I found Down to Earth Astronomy and Obsidian Ant, and it was just like both of you did really amazing jobs in explaining and talking about the game, but you had very different perspectives on your topic and theme and how to present them. You know.
Yeah, I mean,
he was more about news, and you're more about kind of
game mechanics,
technical aspects in mechanics and everything. Yeah,
exactly.
So, would you like to tell us how you got into Elite Dangerous?
Oh, that's I'll try to make a very long story brief. The whole thing actually started way before anyone even thought about Elite Dangerous. I think I've always been a huge space nerd. I mean, to the point where my parents gave me a telescope when I was 13, when I got my first telescope. So space and astronomy has always been like a huge interest of mine. And after I graduated, and then I still wanted to do. I've always played space games, and I wanted something else to do. Try that again. I always play space games like EVE Online, that kind of stuff. But after I finished university, EVE Online is a very time-demanding game. So I wanted to find something a little bit more casual, and it was round about that time that Elite Dangerous came out. So I thought we'll give that a go, and here we are.
All right. When did you decide to make YouTube videos?
Because
Especially
I was.
about, Elite Dangerous.
It was about at the same time, right after I started playing Elite. Again, it was right after I graduated, so I was looking for a job. It meant I had a ton of spare time, and I was really, really bored. So I thought, you know what? I'll try just for fun to upload a few videos to YouTube, and I started doing that. And then I actually finally got a job, and then I actually stopped for, I think, 3 or 4 months, maybe half a year, quite a long time actually, where I didn't do anything. And then after things settled down and began to get a little bit more everyday life again, then I started uploading again, and I've pretty much been uploading ever since. So started as a pastime, and well, it still is just a hobby, but that because I wanted something.
Well, one thing I'm really surprised by is, you know, you do have a hobby, but obviously, speaking about the specific topics and things you do in the game, you still manage to find a surprising amount of content to cover, shall we say.
Yeah, it's one of the things. Was one of the reasons why I really always like complicated games where I can spend hours and hours sitting and trying to min-max some little tiny aspect of a game. I mean, EVE Online, which I played for 7 years, it's kind of the same thing. Like, that is basically spreadsheets online, and it's the same thing with Elite. There are so many small, like when you really begin to dive into it, small nuances and things you can sit and try to min-max. And then when you take all those small things and you just make videos on them as things progress, then yeah, it turns out to be a lot of videos. How many I've actually done by now? Hold on.
and of course with things constantly moving forward, Frontier. We complain that the Pilot Pirates Federation. We complain the Pilots Federation sometimes seems like it's not giving us enough, but there are so many little things that go on that affect a lot of things for different people in different ways. And if you're only in a certain niche, you might not see it, you might not catch it or know what's actually going on.
Yeah, especially, I mean, there is, especially the BGS, about background simulation kind of people, there is often like a small minor change that might seem insignificant to most players can have tremendous impacts on what is going on with BGS. Such a small thing, like when they did a overhaul of the whole BGS system, and that just threw everybody off for, I think, a few weeks until people began to figure out what's going on, because the BGS mechanics is not explained by Frontier anywhere. It's just there, and the way people find out is trial and error. So they basically go and find a faction to say, okay, what happens if we do this? What kind of states? What happens to a system if we run a specific type of mission, or if we kill a lot of police ships, or if we do a lot of bounty hunting? What happens to the state and the system? And based on that, people are then beginning to collect knowledge, and a small change in the way things are collected can have a huge impact on BGS. So that, and so one of the things that often overlooked, I think, in patches.
You also have your own player faction, correct?
Yes, we do. Terra X Astro Corp.
Are you aligned with any superpower, or are you independent?
We aligned us with the Federation, mainly because we live pretty much bang smack in the middle of Federation space, so it was convenient to be aligned with them.
Okay. And are you actively trying to expand as much as you
Yes.
can?
We are very much so. But actually, man, in the beginning, I was very active in the day-to-day planning. And as things have progressed, and there's now a dedicated planning team that plans the day-to-day activities and figure out what do we need to go where today and post daily strategies or orders for people to complete. It's basically like a separate mission system where every day they say, okay, we can do missions in this system and this type of missions in that system, and that will then help progress the faction like that. And I then join in from time to time and talk with the planning team and on the more long-term plans, or if they have any like strategic things they want to discuss, then I join in.
Did you have any larger conflict with another player faction?
Not openly. There's been times where we, of course, have had suspicions that there's been someone trying to work against us. But we found some really good tactics that worked for us to try to defend against people trying to undermine our faction, even though we might have fewer pilots or at least less active pilots than other factions. So you can defend against it, but you need to know how.
How common actually is it to come across another player faction in the bubble? Because the bubble is pretty big actually.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of factions. So that's always the difficult part. It's quite easy to come across another faction, but you're not always sure if they're active. Some factions might just be like one or two guys who created the faction 2 years ago and is now dead and abandoned, but it still shows up as a player faction. But it does happen from time to time that we come across other active player factions, and usually you try to just avoid expanding into other systems. But again, this whole BGS is a bit complicated. So if we are doing an expansion into a system, we plan expanding into a specific system, but then another faction also expands. It could just be an NPC faction, and then suddenly takes that seat that was available in that system. Then suddenly we can end up in another system that was completely unplanned. And if there's another player faction there, then suddenly we're sharing a system with them. But situations like that is often just resolved by contacting the other faction and say, hey guys, we had an accidental expansion into your system. Feel free to throw us out if you don't want us there. Other than that, we can leave us alone, or we'll leave you alone, and then that probably ends there.
So diplomacy is still a thing in Elite.
Diplomacy is definitely still a thing in Elite.
That's surprising.
At least when you begin to look at the larger fact.
I was going to say, that's surprising considering the attitude of a lot of people, especially back in the bubble. It's just...
Yeah, it can be a little
I'd say
cutthroat
it's even worse in Colonia, actually.
I've heard that there's people just hanging around in Colonia trying to kill explorers that shows up.
I'm not talking about gankers, but the BGS people there, it's got kind of tensed. Because they got bored and, yeah, want to stir stuff up, and there are a lot of disagreements about things and so on.
But actually, it's interesting you would bring up certain pirates in Colonia. We actually had one of our radio listeners, and I believe he's also a music contributor, get into some trouble out in Colonia just today, like literally hours ago. So
by pirates.
Well, I think calling them pirates would be kind.
Oh, so gankers, I guess.
Yeah, but you know, everyone's welcome to do their thing and fly how they're gonna fly, and that's one of the things I actually love about this game. Like when we talk, when I mentioned specifically before about how people get in their niche and they don't even know what's going on. It's like I'm an explorer who sits out on the edge of the void of nothing, and that's my niche, and I'm comfortable out there. But that means I'm 50 to 60,000 light years from any other human being, and I have no idea what's going on. So I'm constantly watching you and Obsidian Ant just to be like, does civilization still exist? What does it look like? I forgot.
I can imagine it sometimes when the whole thing, like during the Thargoid, when the Thargoid invasion started of the bubble, when we're just sitting out there thinking, okay, I'm just gonna stay out here for a while.
When that first started, that was just a few months into dead end circumnavigation, of course, and because that was around, and it was around Christmas too, and they had released the Type 10, and I had rushed back just to buy a Type 10 just to have it, so I could be like, okay, this is my goal. I'm gonna get through DECE, and then I'm gonna get to fly this new ship. And then on my way back to rejoin the fleet, the Thargoids attacked the Oracle, and it was just like, it's right there. It's 1,500 light years that way, or I can just keep going the 20,000 I gotta do to catch up with everyone.
Orbiting the star like types.
And like, I did end up doing some Oracle rescues, and I feel proud of that in a weird way, because it's like, yeah, I was there at the beginning, But yeah, keeping up with everything is almost impossible. Like, I'm really amazed at the stuff you and Obsidian do. Like, genuinely, it's like, because there's always like, even for you, when you're like, you finally like, oh, I finally got through the patch notes, I finally finished all this information. Hey, I found something shiny. Let me tell people about this.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is it what you usually do when you play Elite, or what you like to do?
It's fun. I got that.
You didn't watch the 5-hour live stream the other day? He's on his way to Colonia.
I was only 4.5.
Oh, God. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I got that question a while back where somebody asked me what do I actually spend most of my time on? How much time do I spend playing, and how much time do I spend making videos? And it's a surprisingly difficult question to answer, because it depends how you divide that. Because a lot of times I would be sitting thinking, hey, this could be fun to do a video about, and I try it out, of course, off camera, and I might be doing it for quite a while to try to get a feeling for whatever it is I'm considering doing a video on. But it might not never actually make it into a video. Maybe I figure, you know what, this is not really worth anybody's time, or it's just not interesting. It just doesn't add anything new. So does that count as time making videos? Or do you only count the time when like recording is actually running? Because if you count all the time where I'm doing something where I'm considering, hey, maybe this could be fun.
You were researching for a video, so...
Yeah. So, at that, then it's probably anywhere between 60, 70, 80% of my time that goes into video production. But if it's actually recording time, it's probably less than 10% of the time that actually goes into.
Okay.
That still leaves you with like 10 to 15% of the time to just do what you want to do. Like,
but that's the point. Researching is what I want to do.
I was about to ask.
Sorry, I apologize.
Do you only create content about stuff that you actually have fun in doing, or do you also sometimes do something just because it's relevant?
I would definitely also do something if it's relevant or if I could see it being useful for other player groups. I mean, as we talked about, people get into their own niche, and if I come across something that is obviously very beneficial to a specific niche within the game, it may not be a niche that I spend a whole deal of time on when I'm not doing videos, but I can still see it be useful to that niche. Then I would definitely still like spend the time, figure out what's going on, and then consider doing a video on that topic.
Yeah, I definitely watched and commented on the recent neutron scoop, and I was like, I wanted to add to the conversation and be positive and beneficial. So I added a lot of little technical details and stuff that I know in my comment. But at the same time, I was thinking, man, this would have been useful before Distant Worlds 2, so I didn't have to write those 10 pages for everyone to read.
Yeah. And specifically neutrons. I mean, there's actually a video people have been requesting from time to time, saying, "Why don't you do a guide on that?" And because until I started my Colonia trip, I never really. I mean, for that, the last time I was out exploring was before Horizons, before I made any significant distance.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was an Asp Explorer. It was completely unengineered because there was no engineers.
Back in the
Colonia
days
didn't
of,
exist.
Back in the days of 30 light years, and you're like, I am God.
Exactly. I was like, you have anywhere between 30 and 40 light years of jump range, you have an insane jump. Today, I expect to get that out of my combat ships. So that's also why I decided to do
still a high range for combat ships even nowadays.
Yeah, true. I think I actually managed to push my my Corvette just over 30, if I recall, like 32 or 33, something like that. But that's only because of the Guardian FSD boost.
Oh yeah, I even had to bypass that one because of Nagi's Axie, like to fight the Thargo. Oh man. Oh, actually, this is a good question because this is you're going in the completely opposite direction. And actually, just this is in general a good idea to get on this whole topic. So, man, it's a weird lead-in. It's really kind of breaking things. But you've talked a lot about the interstellar initiatives and community goals in general, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But your the recent coverage of the Enclave, the second or Interstellar Initiative 2, or it's not part 2. I don't know what to call it.
Yes, yeah, the second Interstellar Initiative, I guess.
But so let's start. Let's go back to the beginning. The very first part was deliver data, and I remember literally like when they found. I remember like sitting there and like rubbing my hands together with a white cat that only had one eye sitting on my lap before petting it and going, yes, yes. Because I still had all my Distant Worlds 2 data. All of it. Thousands of systems. And then I watched your video, and you were like, anybody could come out here from, Colonia and just drop off a ton of data. And I was like, oh, I feel guilty. But then I pet my cat, and I felt better about it again, and I didn't really care. And then it finally came around, and I stayed up till like 2 a.m. in the morning the day it launched, because, Japan, I'm on a different time zone. And I start selling my data, cackling maniacally in stream, and then Nagi's like, Chankk, it's just counting how many systems you sell. And then I actually read it. I read the details of it. And I just started yelling. I was like, they want 26 million systems worth of data?
That's quite a bit of data. Wow.
20
stats. How many systems been discovered so far?
Okay,
about 3 times as
that was
much.
the thing. I've done the math on this now because it pissed me off so much. In the entire existence of Elite, about 72 to 73 million systems have been reported to EDSM. That's total discovered that we know of. Which means that they wanted about a third of the entire discovered system collection set in.
That's a lot.
I got all of the Distant Worlds 2 scan estimates from everyone in the fleet, and they wanted 3 times more than all of the data combined by Distant Worlds 2. And of course, by the time it had happened, everyone had sold all their data, except for lunatics like me. So
people had a week to try and expand the node space by a third.
They had a week, and I think in the end we delivered an absurd amount. It was like 150,000 systems worth of data. Really huge number. 6,000 of it myself. Yay me. But it still only got to like 25 or 30% of the way to tier 2. It didn't even get to tier 2. And the whole time I'm just like, I'm very not happy about this. I'm very angry. And then the second one came up, and I was like, okay, this I can get behind, because the second one was just transporting. It was just picking stuff up.
The second one was
shipping
very
it to
genuine.
stations.
Yeah, that was
And
the
I was like, okay,
material
can
for
be
building
involved.
stations.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and also I did the Alliance one, and
there was a problem about the second one
Palladium.
too, which Nagi can explain. Nagi,
Yeah,
tell us
Alliance.
about the problem with
Okay,
part 2.
the Alliance station was 50,000 light seconds out.
No, it was like 170 or something. It was ridiculous.
It was, it took like 20 minutes to fly there each time. But at least it was paying decently. You've got like double the selling price for Palladium that you've got from the buying price.
Yeah, that's one thing that eventually they realized. They were like, oh, we messed up, and people are going to think we have a bias against the Alliance, which maybe they do. But they did end up lowering the number for the Alliance to match the same tiers, and the payout was like 2 to 3 times higher, so you got a lot more money in return.
Yeah, and they also reduced it to tier 6.
And I think they all got completed because, of course, every faction got 2 stations out in Witchhead.
Yep.
And that's when the fun began. That's when the real fireworks started going off.
Yeah, that pissed off the guys real good.
Of course, before that there was that AXI event you've also been part of.
Yeah, what was the whole? So first there was the data, then there was the collecting, and then the stations got attacked, I assume, right? And then we have
they withdrew from the bubble.
Mm-hmm. That was before.
They attacked Palin, and then after they attacked Palin, the stations spawned, and then instantly got attacked like an hour later.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't even like a change in state or anything. It was just, hey, we have stations. Oh, they're all on fire.
Do you know what really was fun about that? So they had 6 new incursion systems, and within day 1, AXI already cleared one of the system completely, and the others got reduced Fargoid presence, and they backed it back up again to full strength.
Yeah, they actually restored one of the cleared systems because it happened too fast. And Nagi helped me build a ship in a day that I flew out there to be a part of it, and they still cleared it in 3 days after they restored it. So it didn't matter. Axie is serious business when they get down to it.
Yeah, I was joining them a few weeks ago. When there were these super Thargoid conflict zones, whatever they're calling them.
That's the event I was
where there are like
about.
20 interceptors at once.
Yeah.
And we only just managed to get like 5 minutes in there because even though they tried to tell them, guys, don't go and do these conflict zones because we want to do them for the event, And yet still we showed up, it was pretty much all gone because people just been shooting them.
Yeah, it got clear why we were in there.
Exactly. I managed to jump in once and landed 20 kilometers away from the rest of the fleet, meaning I aggroed pretty much half the site. And before I managed to boost...
Oh, you dropped on Aaron. You dropped on Aaron, he was dragging them around.
Yeah, okay, okay, apparently I dropped on the wrong person. I dropped in and then I spawned into the wrong side at least.
Yeah.
And before I managed to across the conflict zone, they pretty much just ripped my ship to shreds.
I had destroying like 3 Cyclopses and 1 Basilisk in that conflict zone. It was pretty mad. Because at some point you got death clouds all over the place.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, so your intent was to have one person basically run around with this giant fleet of Thargoids chasing them.
Yep.
And then you would like pick one off at a time and then pull it out and fight it?
Yeah, something like that. So, many of them gathered in the middle.
MMO tactics here. This is
yeah, some of them gathered in the middle, and someone was shouting, "I have got an enraged Medusa." In the middle of that, an enraged Medusa. So yeah, bad news.
I did end up getting to be a part of that, which was fun. First time doing combat, and actually cleared a combat zone and have soloed 3 Cyclopses now. Like, and I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm terrible at combat, but like the Axie guys, Nagi helped me build a ship. Axie guys literally helped me set up the control scheme so I can fight them, and it's just like, oh wow, this is not so bad as long as I'm just careful about it and do everything I watch on YouTube that other people are doing. Oh, we need a lore name for YouTube. The Visual Net.
Galnet?
Well, no, it's not. It
No,
can't be
Galnet
Galnet.
Public Edition.
Galnet Video. Galnet Prime.
That's
so
how they pay for our exploration data. All the subscriptions.
So you were part of the Axie fighting, but you really just limited that to your live stream that one time.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same deal as with this today. They wrote to me and said, "Hey, we are doing this event. Do you want to come?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll join." So I joined them on that event. Threw together a ship in half a day.
Obviously,
do you plan on finishing that?
Yeah, at some point.
Obviously, flying out to Colonia in a Python, if I'm not mistaken. Are you not? Do you have no interest in kind of doing more detailed discussion on the Thargoids, other than some other things you've talked about?
The problem I have with the Thargoids is it often gets a lot of the same. I mean, for the longest time now, until this Interstellar Initiative, all the Thargoids we've been doing for a very long time was, so a new station's on fire, nobody's going to repair it, but it's on fire. You can go there and you can get yourself some easy rank if you want to. and that's pretty much all that happened. The story, at least for me, died out a little bit. There might have been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, like smaller things that I haven't been diving deep enough into it to know about, and I'm sure there is. But on the overall, like larger scale things, not a lot happened.
Okay. You mentioned getting ranks easily. You did multiple tutorials on faction rank grinding over the years. What is currently actually the best method for Federal and Imperial rank?
I think it's still trying to find. There's still some of the systems around where you could go with a small ship and just pick up a ton of boom data delivery missions.
I was going to say the Gollin. You can get a Corvette in a day.
Yeah, something along those lines.
I don't know about Federal. I keep using Ochosi, but I think I've messed up the background simulator, the BGS there, because like now some of the stations are in war with their own internal factions and stuff, and it's like, ooh, I sold data to the wrong people.
I
And
think we also were when I did it.
It's a complete mess now. Well, I'm leaving. I started this fire, and now I'm out of here.
That resolved itself in a week's time. Then people are probably like Gulu. It seems like that's the system. But yeah, there are still some of those systems around where you can just pick up data, and I think it's been a reliable source for a very long time. Other than that, maybe if I'm not sure. I mean, back in the days, in the old days, there were systems like 17 Draconis and the donation missions over there. I'm not sure if something like that would still be viable today. If you're loaded with cash from mining void opals, then maybe that's an option. But I'm not sure. I haven't really checked that out for quite a while.
When talking about simplifying any grinds, if it's just engineering, rank, or money, it doesn't matter. What was actually the most fun grind that you did?
Oh, the most
fun? If you can actually call any grind fun.
I think one of the most fun money grinds is the void opal ones we have at the moment. I find that to be hilarious, and it never gets old to watch stuff build.
I was going to say 200 million credits in an hour seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah. But it's funny if you look at money grinding through Elite, because if you remember back in the days of Quints, when people were running out there running surface scan missions out in Quints, you would get 80 millions per hour, and people were losing their mind over it, saying that's completely broken. How can anybody make that amount of money in an hour? That should be that can't be. And if somebody tells you today that they're making 80 millions per hour, people will be laughing at you, saying, "What the hell are you doing?"
Oh, well, yeah. There was the, of course, when Soundkruger came out and they started doing passenger missions. It was like, people were like, "Whoa, I'm making 60, 70 million in an hour just by flying 5 guys around to like 10 systems and coming back."
Yeah, exactly. Like, there was those little reruns
and now you're it's literally just like, you fly to 10 systems? What a waste of time. What are you doing?
Did you know that in Colonia you can actually still do that pretty easily, because at Chankk Station there are 3 different tourist beacons and you regularly get VIP passenger missions that are just one jump away. So it's easy money for anyone in Colonia.
Yeah, nice.
Apart from mining. Oh, and before we interview I mentioned that you're kinda responsible for me getting to meet Chankk. That's actually because one of those money grind videos. And that was in January, January and February 2000 and was it 18 or 17?
Was that the wing source return missions?
No, it was a different one. Involved some supercruise flying very far out.
Probably the RIA runs.
Nope.
No.
Next guess.
Long distance flying. And I like a lot of super cruising, and it was not.
Yes.
What was the other system? It was the other passenger systems that I can't remember the name of.
Oh, the system name was it was just LTT and some number.
It was the passenger missions, right? The one right after RIA.
It was bulk passenger missions.
I can't remember the system names, but I think I know.
Yeah, the system name was kind of weird. It was just a bunch of letters and numbers, but the station was called Smearton Orbital.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, and it also has a rare commodity, I think. Yeah, that's how I got my conda back then, and that made me go to Beagle Point, where I meet Chankk.
Oh, are you bounced into each other at Beagle Point.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's a story that, well, everybody on the radio knows, but yeah, I was on DECE, and Nagi was on the Beagle Point expedition, and we were basically timing it where they were going to hit Beagle Point as we crossed over Beagle Point at the same time, and we were just like, why doesn't DECE just sit here for a week and wait for you guys, and we'll have a big meetup? And you know, a lot of people landed. I drank too much, started shooting people, and now me and Nagi are best friends. So
Wonderful.
Yeah. So, from my side, thank you for making those guides. It really helped me out. Not just on that occasion.
Nah, that's funny. And in an unlikely place at the other end of the galaxy.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of anacondas and pythons, because I know that's what you're flying now. What were you flying on the Thargoid fights? And
I was flying a cutter.
Follow up, a cutter. Oh, all right. And
Best
so,
ship to do that then.
do you have? Because I mean, we've seen a lot of your videos. You've flown a lot of ships. Is there any one in particular? Because obviously you're flying Python right now, and I don't want to ask you like what you would fly otherwise, but what has been the most enjoyable ship experience, shall we say?
The Diamondback Explorer, hands down. I love that little thing. Yeah,
really?
I love that.
Oh man, that
I know.
I have
okay,
one, but I have one, but it's never gonna leave the bubble. I literally use it to collect stuff so I can build better ships and then leave.
Same thing.
I get it from your point of view, because if you do any kind of long distance travel, then the Diamondback Explorer can be a bit of a pain because of the small fuel scoop, right?
Yes.
But
well, it's not just this fuel scoop; it's just the limited modules. It's everything about it. It's like, yeah, it can jump far and it can get somewhere fast, but then what can it do when it gets there? Not a whole lot.
But that, again, the reason why I really like that ship is because, again, it really good jump range. I found it really enjoyable to fly, and often when I go places, as we talked about, a lot of the time I'm mostly going places to research a video, and at that point I don't need a whole lot of equipment. Problem is when it comes to then actually recording, because then I do need equipment, and equipment that's not gonna fit on a Diamondback, like a fighter bay, for instance. I mean, I spend a lot of time in fighters, but I never fire the weapons. It's basically just a flying camera drone.
Oh, so you must be a fan of the Crate series now with their capabilities.
Yeah, I was considering the Crate. I can't remember. There was a point a few months back when I was trying to get out of the Anaconda because I still am tired of it. I mean, I've been flying that thing for so long that I need something else to fly. But no matter what I did and what kind of combinations I tried to do, it was just the best option when it comes to a dedicated camera ship. So that's why I'm stuck with it and still fly around in the Anaconda, because it is just the best choice when you're making videos, I think.
Yeah, I think that was also Yamik's argument. Yeah. He was basically saying the same thing.
Beluga.
Yeah.
Beluga is clearly superior. It's just made of tissue paper, and you have to realize that.
And the wing gets stuck on the docking hatch all the time.
Oh, that's the funnest part. Yeah, going through the mail slot and literally just waiting till your front nose is through the mail slot with your landing gear up, and then putting your landing gear out so your wings go down, and then putting your landing gear back up so that your landing gear doesn't catch, and it's just, it's a whole fun mess. It's so much, it's so much fun. Like, and I've gotten good at it, but I didn't realize how big it actually was until I actually saw someone else flying a beluga into a station at me, and it literally fills the entire thing. There's literally just, you know, like I always kept thinking, I'm like, oh, there's a couple meters up or down. No, it's like 1 meter in total.
You're scraping paint off.
Either side combined. Like your combined clearance, top and bottom, is 1 meter. You are barely getting through that thing.
It's always funny sometimes when the announcer inside the station says, "Remember that the docking entry is two-way street" or something like that. Like it's two.
Oh, I like the one where he says, you know, smaller ships, please make way for larger vehicles, and it's just like. Yeah, because even a Sidewinder can't sneak past a beluga who's coming into the station.
Nope. Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
So, wow, it's a Diamondback Explorer. Oh my goodness. All right.
That's a great little ship. I like it. And again, I mean, if you're just running around the bubble.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just said, as long as you're running around inside the bubble, the small fuel scoop doesn't really matter because, well, it's rare that you're gonna go at the very extreme. Maybe you're gonna go 800 light years if you're going out to, let's say, I don't know,
Guardian Sites.
Guardian Sites, Clear Sector, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but even then, you know, you just kind of tolerate it. You're like, okay, I've gotten out here. Now I'm just gonna sit for 5 minutes and scoop.
It's also the fastest ship on the recent Buckyball race, Seven Sisters Speedway. So I guess that speaks for itself.
Yeah. It does move around as a bubble boss. It's a really good ship.
Which, I mean, that's what I use it for, but it's also, I refuse to even name it because all my ships have a very specific naming scheme, except for my DBX. The DBX I just call the Moth, because that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
But it's like, and it makes sense. It's just like, it flaps around wildly, bounces around the bubble, and then it disappears because I get into a better ship and leave. Or a better ship for purpose, excuse me.
Yes.
I'm not discriminating against ships. I get into a better ship for purpose. That's the one thing I do. I say that phrase a lot.
Ship for purpose.
Yeah.
I would really love to see some more purpose-built ships on the higher, like the large end of the ship, like more large ship with a very specific purpose. Like right now, the Anaconda is a good choice for pretty much anything you're doing. There might be some of the other ships that are a slightly better choice in some cases, but for the majority, the Anaconda is not a bad choice.
Yeah, that's true. It's also quite difficult to realize because I mean, how would you gonna do that? You would have to limit module slots to something very specifically to achieve that, I think, because otherwise, it's a large ship, so it's gonna have a lot of internal modules, and that automatically means you can just basically do anything with it. So, yeah.
But that's why I was a little confused why Frontier went away. It seems like going away from the idea of having dedicated slots. I mean, they removed them from the passenger liners, Beluga Dolphin and those ships.
That was a huge boon. That literally. Look, I'm only gonna say this because I love the Sound Kruger ships.
Ever know.
The Dolphin is the king of small ship explorers. Like, okay, yes, the DBX is great at going out there and going fast, but the Dolphin can fit more modules than a Type 6 and still get like 55 light year rate. It can fit repair, like a full repair suite, and like and refuel. Like it can be a full basically support ship as a small little ship and still get 55 light years. And it's ridiculous. It's almost broken. Like the Orca is just a decent explorer. I love it personally because that's my DEC ship. But the Dolphin is is just broken as a small explorer. It really is.
That's a good little
Beluga
ship.
can explore, but it doesn't have the top ranges that a lot of other ships have. I think I capped mine out at 54 light years. You know, and when you're like, hey, my explorer ship has 55 light years, people like raise an eyebrow when they look at you. Like, you can call that an explorer? Excuse you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can pretty much go anywhere with 55 light years.
No, that's my point. 54 light years, you can go anywhere because that's the final jump to Manifest Destiny, which is pretty much the current extreme range that is in the galaxy for to go anywhere, because there's not really any POIs that require more than that 106 light year jump, you know. Once you've conquered
apart
that
from a
106 light
few
years,
very niche top or bottom systems.
oh, yeah, you told me that story about the anaconda that jumped to the neutron, or jumped to the star, and then just the guy literally was calculating like tenths of tons of fuel to make sure he could get back.
Yeah, that was crazy. He got refueled while his FSD was on countdown or something.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that was the only way to make him get back.
Because he had to have
the
enough
neutron
to make
in that
the jump
system,
back.
the neutron in that system he jumped to was like over 200,000 light seconds out. So he had to make sure he still got enough in his reserve tank and in his main tank too to make the jump back.
Yeah. And of course, like, and the other thing is, of course, you know, like when he jumps in, he like shuts down all his modules, so the only thing running is his FSD and thrusters, so he can super cruise out there and use the minimum amount of fuel. Like, it's a lot of work and a lot of maths went into the guy's trip, and it's really impressive. But actually, speaking of impressive, as someone who has seen probably more than most people have in this game because of what you do, is there anything in particular that's really like stunned you when you've seen it? Something that just blew your mind?
Oh, that's a good question. I normally always get really amazed when, like on the graphical side of Elite, when they come out with new things. I remember when Frontier did the Guardian beacons, you know, those big structures that unfold and then they poop out a Guardian key. They look amazing, and sometimes, like recently when I was exploring, the first pit stop I did on the way to Colonia was a planet that had some really huge mountain ranges compared to the radius of the planet, and that just looked like amazing to see, because you could sit there on the top of those mountains and you could see the planet curve and the horizon curve away from you in the distance. That just looked it was really an amazing trip. And there's these small things that you come across in Elite from time to time that just makes it a great game.
Hey, you know what? I like that answer, because that's literally the same thing I've tried to tell people. People are like, Chankk, you visited like 28,000 systems. What is still left? And I'm literally just like, the next jump. Like, I don't know what I was going to see when I get there. That's what's left. And then when I finish that jump, the next jump is left. Like, that's it. That's all there is to it. Like, because there's always
until you've made 400 billion jumps, then there's nothing left.
Yeah, when I have personally made 400 billion jumps, there will be nothing. Not even 400 billion jumps. When I visited 400 billion systems, that is when there will be nothing left.
And then you're sitting and thinking to yourself, so in which of those systems did I miss Raxler?
Yeah.
No. At that point, that's when Frontier gives me the personal key to Raxla, and they're like, "Hey, go to Andromeda and do it all over again."
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
By the
Here's
way,
another
Astro,
800 billion systems. Do it again.
do you have triple elite?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I might have
YouTube
a
is showing off
suggestion
now.
I might have a suggestion what you might want to try out. I can't do it myself because I'm not triple elite yet, but have you tried?
Please don't say CQC.
No. No, not CQC, because that, when talking about Raxler,
CQC is fun if you can organize it with
Yeah.
with an organized group to all go into it at
Oh
once.
yeah, it definitely is. But the dev said that Raxler was there right at the beginning, and we didn't have CQC back then, so that doesn't really matter. So we've been talking
Are you gonna say the P word?
We've been talking to Truthsayer before, and was it Truthsayer where we talked about Raxler?
It was Truthsayer, yeah.
Yeah. And he dropped a hint that where he thinks Raxler is, and I quickly caught onto it, and yeah, we think it's in a system that's locked off by a permit, but it might actually be possible to jump in there when you go to a system nearby in a very specific ship and just target it from your nav panel. It only works when you're triple elite and in that specific ship. That's my theory.
Yeah, I've been theorizing just that you might need triple elite to get access to even be able to discover it, because the way the Dark Wheel says that only the best pilots would be
Well, the
allowed
Dark
in or
Wheel
something like
itself doesn't know where Raxler is when you look into the lore. They are searching
they
for
just-
it, but they don't know where it is. So
And
just getting into the
try
Dark
to keep
Wheel
any,
just won't give
they
you
try to
any
keep
answer.
any information. Yeah, any information they get, they do try to keep secret, but they are also looking for it. They don't know themselves.
Yeah.
So
Or maybe they don't know. Maybe they do know, and they're just being even secret about the fact that they already know.
Because
So,
they,
but,
they,
Sidewinder,
the Dark Wheel,
Sidewinder in Triple Elite, though.
but the
Could you
Dark
get a
Wheel is
Sidewinder
a
out there?
faction that is opposing the elite elite club of pilots, and those are the guys who know where Raxler is. So they are rivals.
yeah. Okay, so with the chance of breaking breaking the immersion a bit, there was that leak a while ago. Where they've referred to a lot of the stuff that's supposed to come in Elite Dangerous. And there was a small footnote in that post where they said, basically it was like an add-on by the original post that's basically saying, oh, by the way, there is no Raxler.
Oh,
And
okay. I didn't know that one.
the scary part is that that post contained not only information on Elite Dangerous, but also Jurassic World and some of the other games that are going to come out.
I've heard
And
of
so far, I mean, the post is, what, half a year old now? And so far, it's been spot on everything. Which is a little scary. If that is...
Yeah.
If the whole Raxler thing is just a myth, doesn't exist...
I don't know who it was, but someone said that Raxler is the exit game button.
No, we all watched Obsidian Ant's video. It's in hyperspace. You hit up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, A, B. And
yeah. I really hope there was someone somewhere who's been just sitting there for an hour, just jumping, sitting, typing.
Somebody was actually trying to put in the Konami code. That would be.
Imagine if that was actually how you would like have to put in some specific key combination. And you release the video on April 1st, nobody would believe you. Nobody would go and test it because everyone's like, "Oh."
When you choose your commander name, you can put a lot of different symbols in there. Actually, I know that one commander, his name is just the infinity symbol, for example.
Oh well, that's just.
What happens if you just put the arrow symbols of that code as commander name?
Yeah, but then you would have to get that commander to Triple Elite or something like that.
Get your yeah.
Oh, you automatically started Raxler.
And use a what are they called? Not widgets. Wingdings.
Wingdings.
Wingdings. Up, down, down, left, right, A, B.
Oh, we have someone on Twitch asking what Raxxla is. Well, brief recap. Raxxla is like this mysterious planet that's supposed to be somewhere that hosts some kind of gateway or portal or something to another galaxy or universe or something like that. At least that's along those lines the myth goes.
But it's also a planet that could move itself, and that technology alone would be really powerful.
Beyond both Thargoid and Guardian technology.
Yeah, I think it used to be one jump away from Tionisla or something. And it got moved as, or Valor goes something like that, if I remember correctly.
Imagine a absolute clusterfuck if the Thargoid had the technology to move planets.
Yeah, please no.
Just suddenly, God damn it, they took my planet again.
Suddenly ammonia worlds all over the bubble.
I'm still waiting for the not necessarily the Guardian return, because I think we can assume that they were completely wiped out, but
yeah, they killed themselves.
I've been talking about this for a while, especially since the Thargoids started acting up and moving to weird places. I've been talking about, what if the Guardian, the remnants of the AI started realizing that we're basically harvesting their technology, and rather than just having surface drones, they restarted their factories and started building spacefaring vessels that were powered by the AI defense system.
Yeah, because it realizes that that what it tried to stop. It's trying to stop the slaughtering fest, and it's happening again just with us salvaging their technology. Yeah,
it's happening again between humans and Thargoids at this point now. Like,
that would be
so much fun. I mean, it would be hellish. It would be absolute night, because the best things against those at the moment is just straight munitions, like multi-cannons and blasters on the SRVs, because it's just, they don't have shields. But oh man, what if we had to harvest Thargoid tech to fight the Guardians?
And it's at that point where you would just try to lure the Guardians to chase us in the direction towards the Goids, so while someone else is forcing the Thargoids to chase us towards the Guardian. And then do a bait and switch at the last minute. Just, let's see you guys.
Frontier, I'm giving you these ideas for free. You don't even have to pay me. All right.
We all retreat to Colonia and watch them buy themselves out.
Park the ship 2.5 kilometers away and begin to launch collector limpets as everything explodes.
Oh yeah. No, the beacons,
the Guardians return us as a drone or like AI race could actually be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, collector limpets.
It wasn't even like Guardians returning. It was literally just like AI Sentinels, but spacefaring. So we had to fight them in space, and we had, you know, all of the same kind of conflict we have with the Thargoids, but with just really big, powerful Sentinel drone ships, you know.
Have any of you played EVE Online?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Not for a long time. I don't remember.
There's an NPC race in EVE Online just called the Drones, and they're basically like
I've heard about these things. Don't they just they come into systems and they basically wipe out radio towers?
Yep.
And just that's all they do, but it completely shuts down player bases and everything because you can't communicate.
No, I think the lore around them is that it's more like a ship virus that attacks already existing ships, so they don't build ships on their own. They just infect other ships and then take them over. So all their ships would look like
replicators
normal
from
flying
Stargate.
ships.
Oh,
yeah.
So basically, just
something
anacondas and
so you could suddenly have an anaconda who's just flying around
with like blue lasers coming out of them, so they look Guardian-esque.
Something like that. I mean, it would maybe modify the ship with some of the guardian technologies that they have, so it would be like a guardian infused anaconda, but it would be taken over by the AI. That would be pretty damn cool.
And we already kind of know the technology, or at least we've used their technology to build some weapons, so we have an idea of what their weapons might be like, but add those modifiers to what human weapons already can do. So you have like railguns that are a combination of projectile rail with the Gauss cannon effect.
Yeah, but then...
Oh, there's so much potential here. I'm gonna have to think about this.
But then again, their weapons are especially effective against Vargoids, but not very effective against human defenses.
Well, no, but if they start taking our ships, they have our weapons as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. They would need to research our technology first to develop something that's effective against us. Because so far our weapons are superior.
We're going all over the place. This is way too much for my head to handle.
I'm just saying.
Well, oh man, I don't want to be mean to our newest DJ. Yeah, anybody who's listening on the radio, we have a new DJ, GJRC. Let me actually get the name right. Don't be a complete dick. DJ CR33P,
Creep,
who is a DJ creep, yes, who is a fantastic addition to our radio team, who does a almost daily show on the radio at about this time. He has let us know that we can go over. It's okay, but I don't want to leave him with like only an hour or something to do his show in time. So maybe we can move on back to rather than theorizing. Move back to actual experiences. So,
yeah,
so we've talked about ships.
When you mentioned sitting there with collector limpets, did you notice that the unauthorized installation in Isinur is gone?
Yeah, I know it's gone.
Do you have any idea why that might be?
I think the answer is very disappointing in the fact that it was too easy for people to get materials from it. I can't see any other explanation. There are other installations out there that does spawn a healthy amount of the materials. Problem is, many of them are military installations where there is a exclusion zone around them. But there's a trick, and that is that collector limpets are not affected by exclusion zones. They can fly in there. Problem is, I haven't been able to find a spot where you can get within range of the materials that's just sitting in there waiting for you with the collector limpets.
Are collector limpets engineerable?
Nope. Yes, but not for longer range. It'll be lightweight.
No, not for like just for weight. Limpets are only affected by weight in your actual ship, which is, that's a nice little thing that they can give to us. But
actually, when talking about exclusion zones, what I did try the other day is trying to glitch onto a surface of Triton, using a friend who would interdict me in Super Cruise, but we didn't get it to work because it's pretty random.
Have you tried jumping out in the middle of an interdiction?
No. Basically, when you're being interdicted and you fly into an exclusion zone, it takes a while for the game to register it. And in case of landable planets, you can glitch right into the planet, and it will then spawn you on the planet's surface in normal space, like 20 meters above the surface or something. And I tried doing that with Triton, but I was either going too slow or it would just steer me off course and I would miss it.
I'd once tried to glitch into an asteroid when I was mining, and I got thrown like 5,000 kilometers away from the belt. In not super cruising, just normal space.
Yeah.
That was a mess.
Wow. So, we've commented on the things you've seen, things you've flown, things you've done. Is there anything in particular? And I mean, we talked about Raxla and Goys and Guardians, but is there anything in the future that you're hoping to see that you haven't had a chance yet, maybe, or any particular experience you're looking towards?
That's the obvious, obviously, all the stuff that hasn't been added yet, like fleet carriers and hopefully either atmospheric landing, space lakes, those kinds of stuff. Basically anything what Frontiers planned. I'm really excited for the 2020 update, and obviously haven't been able to experience that, and something I'm really looking forward to. But on the more like stuff I want to try and see, I'm really looking forward to when I finally get my ass together and get my ult out to Colonia, and try to start up out there, because it's the closest thing I think I'm ever going to get to the new player experience again, because I have no idea about what's the most effective way to make money out there. How do I get engineering materials? How do I do anything out there at all? So I'm looking forward to that, trying to kind of start the game over again, knowing nothing about the game.
Well, I mean,
it's a pretty
we
fun
know that
region, I must say.
we know that most mining equipment is available out there now because of Distant Worlds 2. I mean, they removed some of it from what was it? Orion, not Orion Nebula.
Omega.
Yeah, they removed the mining equipment from Omega. Not all of it, but they did remove a lot. But in Colonia still, there's a lot of stuff that got left behind, basically.
Yeah, and they upgraded Colonia to
like
a high-tech system, so now you even get bigger A-rated modules there. So you get almost everything. And even if you got the Guardian blueprints, doesn't matter if you haven't gotten the materials yet. There are sites not super far away from Colonia where you can actually get the rest of them. And is also a technology broker, so you can unlock technology. So yeah, it's been pretty independent now.
It seems like getting more and more well equipped, which makes sense. It would, as more people move out there.
Yep.
I was really surprised how many systems are actually being populated out in close to Colonia. I mean, I figured before I began looking into this whole trip, I think, okay, so that's going to be like, what, 10, 15 systems or something with stations out there? No.
Oh, it's something like 30 or 35?
I think it's over 100 by now, actually.
I think that's well over 100.
Really? Is it? Oh, jeez.
Yes, exactly. That was what I looked at. Like, oh my.
Yeah, and that account that I'm flying on the stream right now is also part of the Colonia Citizens Network faction and the corresponding squadrons, so yeah. Also active player factions out there. Quite a lot of them. And still doing stuff.
I'm sure Nagi can actually go into his Gal map and realize that I've gone from being 16,000 light years away to 7,000 light years away, because I'm going to Colonia right now too. So
damn you!
Everybody's flying to Colonia. But, no, it's just on my way. You know, I'm just passing through because you know what I'm doing. So, but no more talk of that.
And of course, we have carriers just around the corner as well.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
You know,
really curious about that.
I watched your fleet carrier video, and I was just like, just shortly into it. I wasn't even paying attention to the price. Just shortly into it, I was like, that doesn't sound like what we saw. And then I thought in my head, I was like, oh, are they gonna have like tiered fleet carriers where, like, depending on the size of your squadron, you can earn a certain and then you got to the price, and I was like, excuse me, what?
Yeah. Exactly. But again, that information has been was confirmed like a few hours after the video went live. That it's bogus information. Well, it was part of a community that did like a role play. They put up like this whole homepage with information regarding some stuff they made up, and that information was part of it. For some reason, that information just resurfaced, and when I then began researching into it, I got it from a guy that's been on my Discord for ages now, and then he got it from a German Discord, and that got it from a German forum, and I was like tracing that thing back as far as I could, and hit a dead end at that German forum, where someone just posted that a screenshot from that page saying, "Not sure how valid this is, but here it is." And then I kind of had a dead end there because I couldn't figure out which homepage it was from, because it didn't look like any of the official homepages I've seen before or anything like that.
You know what's interesting though is it is an interesting idea, like to have, instead of having just like, oh, you have your giant, Falcon DeLacy carrier, or you have your giant Gudamai carrier or whatever, to actually have like tiered carriers where we're just a small squadron with like 6 people, and we just want a carrier that has one large landing pad, 2 mediums, and like 2 smalls or something, and we can earn that and then fly that little thing around, and then you have something huge with like 500 people in it who are like, no, we want a mega ship that we can take to the other side of the galaxy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, have you seen how many pads that thing has in the teaser?
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
I mean, that's
it's basically a Coriolis station turned inside out with engines.
Yeah,
exactly. It's basically like a station turned inside out. I mean, it's quite a bit smaller. The pads were really, really tightly packed. But then again, that could make for some amazing screenshots if you could fill up all those pads with ships.
I was thinking that same thing when I saw it. I was like, wait, how do all those people land? And I was like, well, you've seen pads on ground surfaces where you have like 2 large pads right next to each other and 4 medium pads right next to each other. Like you could do this. Oh, wouldn't it look cool if you actually had like a fleet parked on top of this thing all at once?
Oh yeah.
And you get a photo of that. Like,
what do you think those things are gonna cost realistically? Because when you look at a cutter and how big it is, and just compare it to megaship's size, and what do you think how much they are gonna cost?
I think they could be anywhere between 5 to 20 billion in terms of cash value. But I hope that they're not just gonna be cash value. I hope it's gonna be like, just like we have the repairing stations now. It's gonna be a little bit the same thing, but like a squadron-wide mission that you start. So someone with the correct permissions in the squadron start that mission at a specific station, saying, "We want to build a fleet carrier here," and then like a whole shopping list of materials you need to collect. That could be mineable only materials. That could be rare goods, maybe. That could be anything. Stuff you can only get, like engineering materials, or maybe also just some cash you can hand in. All that kind of stuff. Engineering data as well. So that is something for all types of gameplay that they need to hand in order to build it.
And what do you
That's
think?
been my thought and my hope too. Like, it's not just something you throw money at. It's literally something you have to.
Yeah.
Basically,
What
a mini
about
CG for
the jumping?
CG for your squadron only, where they have to actually organize and gather materials for.
What about the jumping capabilities? You think we have to, like, mine materials to make them jump?
Well, refuel. Yeah.
I hope they're going to make a new, completely separate materials that's going to be fleet carrier jump fuel or something. We'll call it something more flashy, but that's basically what it's going to be. And this can be acquired in many ways, maybe even be traded in at like something similar to a technology broker, or like where you can trade materials across. So where you could trade in combat bonds, you could trade in mineable materials, you could trade in exploration data, even if you wanted to. Or you could just buy it for straight out cash if you want. So maybe if you had the exploration pods,
multiple ways to refuel.
Yeah, because it would really suck if it was basically just cash. That could work. That would be okay.
You know, that would be boring.
But then what do you do with it? It would be boring. And then what if you have a PvP community? They don't make a ton of cash out of PvPing. So they would have to go and do something else because they need to collect cash to fuel their mega ship or their fleet carrier. I think PvP communities are difficult because they don't really collect anything unless they actually have people jettison cargo. So it's a little bit more difficult to balance, I think. But I hope that they're gonna make it something you can collect in multiple ways. I mean, they said already with the whole ARCs and new premium currency thing that it's something you will get through normal gameplay. And I've been thinking a lot about how they're going to make that balanced for all types of gameplay in Elite, which is not an easy thing.
Yeah, the ARCs is like, as an explorer, I'm sitting here, I'm like, how am I going to earn something when I fly out in the dark for 6 months and then come back to the bubble?
And especially because there's a weekly limit to how many you can get. So if you've been collecting data for 6 months and you come back and sell, then yeah, sure, you get your 1 week limit, but that's it. That's all you get in terms of ARCs. And the only way I can see them work around that is by making it a things to just collect over time. So based on play time. Not ideal, but it's the only thing I can see. I can see it being equally fair for all play types. Would be to make it just a timely thing. I would hope it was. I hope it's something else.
Unless your name is Chankk, in which case you'll be rich. So
no, but remember,
if it's just playtime, I'm gonna break it. I will finally get to break something in the game.
But remember, there's a weekly limit to how much you can earn.
God.
Dum dum dum.
I gotta say, like, I watched your video on that Enclave thing, and I was like, I almost felt guilty. Almost. And then at the same time, I was like, oh, the memes will be beautiful if one commander just absolutely destroys this thing.
I was hoping for it as well, actually. I also read about someone else who planned to do the same thing. I think this was on the Exploration Forum.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I've seen, like I said, I've seen the other top 10 commanders. Not all of them, but at least 2 of them. Some guy had like 3,000 systems worth of data. Some guy had like 4 to 45,000 or 4 to 4,500 systems worth of data. I haven't seen anybody come close to my 6,000. So if they want to come up and show me their numbers, you know, come flex at me. but
could you imagine the rage if they post a new Interstellar Initiative and it's completed within an hour by one commander just coming and dumping Distant World 2?
The rage would have been.
People would be furious.
Beautiful.
If that happened.
I would be the exploration version of Harry Potter. I would be so hated. Oh, it would be glorious.
I think in a situation like that, the hate would be more geared towards Frontier than the person who did it, because all they did was just go in and contribute. But
I just did what you guys told me.
It was kind of the same thing when the Thargoids attacked Palin's base, and people were once again getting shut up when they were inside the fire zone by the base itself.
Oh yeah, by the base.
Yeah, when I heard that, I just got 5 years older right there.
Anybody who doesn't know, the Palin attack, the Thargoids attacked the Palin base. The Palin base went on full defensive while Palin escaped. Palin's full defensive meant shooting anything that moved. That included people who were already parked there and just trying to leave.
No, it only shot people who were firing. So the Goids were attacking the base, and if anybody tried to attack the Goids, the base would then say, "Oh, don't fire inside the no-fire zone."
Yeah, no firing zone.
Yeah, but you would only get a fine. That the base would only shoot at you if you actually hit one of the buildings. Otherwise, you just get a fine.
Nagi, we've all done combat. Do you know how easy it is to miss a shot?
I was there.
But the problem was, it was the exactly same thing that happened at the Gnosis event.
I think Gnosis
and
was
everybody
worse,
was just getting...
actually. Because...
Gnosis was worse because people literally couldn't even take off. They were getting destroyed on platforms by Thargoids.
One for that, and also because of firing inside the no-fire zone, and when they got destroyed, they respawned at a detention center that was ridiculously far away.
Yeah, in the California Nebula, like 2,000 light years?
Yeah. So that was a bad thing about that.
Yeah, I did see a video of someone who was undocking from Gnosis, and while he was still on the pad being lifted up from the hangar, he got hit by a shutdown field.
Yeah.
And he was just sitting there on the pad when the ship was off, and Angry Hyde was shooting at him, and then he blew up before his ship managed to turn himself back on.
I saw that. I was at work on that day, so when I got home and logged in there with my alt account, all that crazy stuff was already gone. It just scouts, endless amounts of scouts left. But still was.
We do have a good question that I want to jump in with. Somebody's asked, and I think you would actually be probably the best person to hypothesize this. Would a fleet carrier persist across solo, open, and player group instances?
Ooh.
Personally, I think it would have to. It would have to just be that exists in game as a whole universal item.
I can't see how they cannot.
Excuse me.
I have a hard time seeing how they can't be persistent across instances, because which instance will they then be in? I mean, let's say that I have a player faction, and or a squadron would be the squadron that builds it, and we then build a carrier. What session would that be in? Would that only be open? Would it be tied to the session I was in, or the private group I was in, or solo mode when it was created? Like that wouldn't make any sense. It would have to be persistent, like, as far as I can see. The more interesting question that leads onto is, are they attackable, or are they destroyable?
Yes.
Because if that is the case, then on one hand, I can see a lot of people having a ton of fun trying to take out other squadrons' fleet carriers, but you could also have a situation where you have a squadron or a group of players who don't play open. Let's say they only play private groups or only play solo, and they just want to play together like a bunch of friends, and they manage to get a small fleet carrier, and then suddenly they log in one day and it's ruined, it's burning, and it's in pieces because someone came by and open and shut it down. I mean, then suddenly you are forcing open gameplay onto people in other sessions. So I don't think they're going to be attackable by other factions. Whether they're going to be accessible.
I imagine them being kind of like the Gnosis. You know, they're just a mega ship that floats around. But the access thing, I've been wondering would that be a squadron key? Like, you have to be in the squadron in order to request docking. You know, and that makes sense. I mean, we have systems that are permit locked. We've got stations that are permit locked. We got planets that are permit locked. It would make sense to just be like, okay, we're going to permit lock your station, so only members who are in the squadron can actually access it and use its features, which is...
Or maybe you can make it a setting. Like, you can... A ship, like on your ship, you have setups. You can set all kinds of like parameters on your own ship. Maybe there's going to be a switch you can flick on the settings of your fleet carrier being only accessible by squadron members or accessible by everyone.
And that raises the next questions, like, are we gonna have a mission board? Are we gonna affect BGS in some way?
Ooh,
I was actually talking.
If you could get your ship into a system, could you like take over the background simulation for that system?
I was actually talking with about that with one of the faction planners for Terra X. Exactly how that would affect BGS, because we have a system, or some systems in our vicinity, where the closest station to the star is like 400,000 light seconds. it's hell running BGS in a system like that, because you have to run those 400,000 light seconds every single time you want to target the system. And if a fleet carrier had a mission board, we could just dump that into the system close to the main star, and people could run missions off that. I think it could technically be possible for Frontier to do now that we have a dedicated mission server. So, I mean, it's fetching a new mission board every 10 minutes anyway, and every single station elite is. So I don't see why we wouldn't be able to have a mission board on them. On the other hand, it would have a pretty significant impact on BGS if you could do that. So I'm not sure they would do it. I think it's going to be pretty sure we're going to get basic facilities like restock, repair, rearm, that kind of stuff. Maybe outfitting as well.
Having outfitting and a livery would be really nice.
Oh, well, we're going to get livery in the main menu.
Yep.
Like maybe not a full shipyard, but like outfitting and livery would be fantastic. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, commodity market.
It would not make sense for a fleet carrier to also have a shipyard where it's like anybody can buy any ship they want.
No.
Oh, when you mention commodities, what I really hope for is that the fleet carriers actually get some kind of commodity storage. So basically, what you could do is take a fleet carrier out to just out of a bubble somewhere to mine stuff, and then jump it back in to sell it. That would be so cool.
I think Donkalore also posted that in the Twitch chat, Deep Space Mining. I would love that. Fill that ship up with people who want to do deep space mining, jump that thing out into the middle of nowhere, and just strip mine the thing for a week or two, and then jump it back into the bubble, and then cash in. And then the question would be, well, how do you then split the cash? Because would the storage be for individual commanders? Would it be a common storage for the whole squadron? How would that work? But deep space mining, love it.
Technically, it would also work if just people would dock with their ships and keep all their commodities in their own cargo holds and just use it as a jumping platform. That would also work. So.
Well, I do unfortunately have to comment on this. I've gotten a ping. I've gotten 2 pings. Turgeon is alive, and they are doing the broadcast.
Ooh.
So we might be losing some listeners or viewers. We understand that the broadcast is awesome. We all love them. We've talked to everybody except for
Shibuka.
Yeah, Shibuka.
Who recently
someday though it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen though. And he'll just be like, who are you people? What do you want from me? But we should kind of maybe bring things to a close. The radio will keep on going. We've got DJ Creep who will be running music on here afterwards, but maybe last 5 or 10 minutes here to close it up. Nagi, do you have anything you got to ask or anything you want to?
I don't know.
Because I got 2 things. I got one thing I have to ask and one thing I really want to ask.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right, one thing I really want to ask. So Astro, your last video, because you do this interesting series, the Adventures of Renash.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic game. And you recently did the you were hanging out in the mages, or the college
of Winterhold.
College. Yeah.
But
I gotta ask, what do you have any particular plans or things you might hint at for your next Elite video?
I have a few. Then the next one should be pretty obvious. I did a miner's guide on dual Paynite hotspot mining, where I did say I would do a dedicated ship build guide for my gold digger. my ship for that. That is definitely coming up. I actually recorded that
Can't use a
today.
Type 7 anymore. Oh.
And that's definitely coming up. And then I have some other videos that are not fully researched yet. So they are a little bit more sketchy whether they're going to make it into a video. But maybe it looks like low temperature diamond piracy might become a thing again. It's been dead. It's been dead for quite a while because of the change in behavior from the NPCs that Frontier scripted in, making them a lot more difficult to get to sit still so you can steal their stuff. But there might be a workaround it. But again, I haven't been able to fully test it yet, so I don't know if that's gonna make it.
I haven't done that yet, but I really wanna do it at some point. So
it's fun.
Forward to it.
All right. Man, that's solid. And the final question that has to be asked: pineapple on pizza.
I'm actually in favor.
All right. Okay.
And I'll take the flag for that.
I'm pretty neutral on it, but it has to be asked.
Yeah. I would say it's not a deal breaker. If somebody says I don't want pineapple on my pizza, then fair enough.
Okay.
I don't have to.
We're now getting unsub messages in Twitch and Discord.
It looks really cool. DJ Group saying thanks D2EA for the amazing vids, and then next line, hell no, unsubbed.
All right. Thank you to our guest here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Down to Earth Astronomy, aka Astro. You can check out his channel on YouTube, Down to Earth Astronomy, which you're probably all already subbed to anyway. You should be. If you're not, you're not playing the game right because you're missing so much information. I've been your host on the radio, Chankk Otome.
I've been your video host, Dr. Nagi.
And this has been Distant Radio Talks, or something. We need to come up with a name for it. It was just interviews, but it's not really interviews anymore. It's just kind of rambling. Anyway, final words of wisdom for you, Astro. Leave us in something positive and good.
Find your niche and enjoy it, because it's definitely out there somewhere in Elite.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right. We'll see everybody. Radio's going over to DJ Creep, and video is shutting down now.
Alright, goodbye.